What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 10. Now, let's begin. Approximately 20 minutes later, Naruto and Yoruichi, now revealing her true form, encountered the intense scrutiny of 3 members of the Shiba family. Ganju, the younger brother of Kukaku, would have increased their number to 4 if he had not been preoccupied with enjoying time with his friends. Naruto considered Ganju to be too inexperienced to participate in this matter. Confused, Kaien ran his fingers through his black hair. Allow me to clarify. Naruto is infiltrating Gotei 13 to inform the commander about an individual possessing extraordinary abilities to manipulate the 5 senses of others. That seems accurate, remarked Miyako, her head nodding in a confident manner. Wouldn't you agree, Kaien? Kaien looked at his wife with a sense of astonishment. As if it truly does. What is the reason for accepting his narrative without further scrutiny? Miyako tilted her head, displaying a look of confusion. All the details in my recollection correspond with what Yoruichi-san and Naruto-kun mentioned. There are no justifiable reasons for them to provide us with false information. Naruto emitted a light chuckle. Miyako was a determined woman, yet she found herself powerless in the face of his voice. Nami. You referenced my voice emerging from the Black Phoenix's prophecy. Nami, his Zanpakuto spirit, expressed her frustration in his mind. Your alluring and captivating voice was not a mere accident. Our presence in this world draws inspiration from the demon Phoenix as described in the Lesser Key of Solomon. What is the reason for choosing Phoenix? Allow me a moment to gather my thoughts. A Phoenix has the ability to achieve nirvana, thereby ensuring its immortality. In a manner of speaking, it stands as the sole entity unbound by life, death, and the intricate cycle of reincarnation. A being that embodies genuine freedom. Achieving freedom had consistently been his aspiration. He attained success through an unconventional means, having inherited a vessel inspired by a mythological creature. It also details my initial transformation from hollow to human. I emerged anew from the flames. My ultimate state of bliss. A mystery continues to remain unresolved. The framework. Could you clarify what it was? What is its origin? What was the origin of its powers? It is unlikely that it originated from a divine wish, as he had not yet had the opportunity to encounter one. It is possible that he did, and his recollection may have lapsed. A multitude of inquiries were pending resolution. It appears that you may possess a greater intellect than you realize. However, in contrast to the Phoenix illustrated in the Lesser Key of Solomon, we will attain significantly greater power. We are poised to take our place as the successor to the Soul King. There is no way I will become a limbless vessel to anchor the worlds. He prefers to enjoy a comfortable and serene lifestyle with his spouses on a secluded island. A fulfilling life devoid of unnecessary distractions. I would never allow anyone to harm you in such a way that would result in disability. Upon further reflection, the idea of keeping you in such a manner seems quite appealing. I would provide nourishment, offer comfort, and ensure cleanliness whenever necessary. I will have the opportunity to maintain and ride my soulmate at any time. That is quite exhilarating. Her intense fantasies sent a shiver down his spine. It is an irresistible trade proposal. You would gain a devoted partner, and I would have the opportunity to realize my aspirations of caring for my soulmate throughout our lives. Leave at once, entity. Please refrain from intruding on my thoughts. Fufufu. I would like to instruct you on the chants used for demon purification. Entity. Rife with conflict. I am in charge of my own life. Kindly depart, and let us move on. Or I will remove you from the premises with my kitchen knife. Misinterpreting the source of his discomfort, Yoruichi placed a reassuring hand on his thigh with care. I have this under control, she said softly to Naruto, then turned her focus to Kukaku, who had remained quietly observant during the discussion. This is the reality that underlies our exile. Kazuki continues to feel disheartened by his inability to become a Shinigami. Kukaku exhaled audibly before her lips curved into a mischievous smile. The Seirei faces significant challenges if your assessment is accurate. I have a strong affinity for challenges. I fully support you throughout this journey. Kaien rubbed his temple, clearly frustrated. Am I the only individual who finds this narrative hard to accept? I have not encountered any captain with the ability you referenced. Every captain who witnessed his Shikai succumbed to his influence, Naruto elaborated. You observed the Shikai and Bankai that were intended for your viewing. Kaien folded his arms across his chest. Assuming, for the sake of discussion, that your account is accurate. What is the rationale behind the actions of the unnamed captain? What benefits are they deriving from this? As Yoruichi was speaking, Naruto interjected by patting her leg. That individual aims to dismantle the Soul King Palace and ascend as the god of Soul Society. The revelation came as a surprise not only to the members of the Shiba clan. Yoruichi was also surprised, having been unaware of Aizen's true intentions. You did not inform either me or Kazuki of that, she stated firmly. Could you please explain the reason? I wanted to ensure that none of you acted impulsively upon hearing that. I do not act on impulse. You promptly assisted Kazuki as soon as you became aware of his situation. That seems rather hasty, in my opinion. His well-structured argument rendered her momentarily at a loss for words. Her eyebrows furrowed as she formulated a response. That was not an impulsive decision, she stated with a deliberate nod. I needed to take action to prevent Kazuki and Tessia from losing their Shinigami powers. It appears they had concluded that Kazuki was the perpetrator from the outset. Given his background, it is likely that he is overseeing Central 46. Kaien observed their conversation with a focused intensity in his eyes. With his eyes closed, he started to organize his thoughts. I understand and accept your perspective. Persuasion skill has been successfully acquired. Current master level. Basic. Convincing Kazuki had not granted him this ability, rather, it was the persuasion of a resolute individual like Kaien that achieved it. What is it that you require from me? Kaien inquired. What is my role in this plan? Given the extensive explanation provided by Naruto and Yoruichi, it is evident that they expect him to contribute significantly to the effort of defeating this malevolent captain. Naruto declined with a shake of his head. I would like you to treat this meeting as if it did not occur. If we convene in Gotei 13 later, you and Miyako-san should conduct yourselves as if we are unfamiliar with one another. That concludes everything. Yoruichi acknowledged with a nod. We will handle the remaining tasks. Please refrain from conducting any investigations or prying into matters. It is imperative to avoid raising any suspicion regarding that individual under any circumstances. Very well. Kaien massaged the nape of his neck thoughtfully. The reduced workload would provide him with additional time to relish his naps. I have a single inquiry. Naruto, what is your motivation for assisting us, Shinigami, in this matter? What benefits do you derive from it? Naruto moved in closer to Yoruichi, gently placing his arm around her waist. Yoruichi has assured me that she will marry me if I assist her with this matter. I am a dedicated individual pursuing the woman of my aspirations. Yoruichi erupted in laughter. This version of myself has driven this individual to distraction with my captivating presence and essence. He is merely a figure responding to my guidance. He is willing to make any effort to be with me. The Shiba couple remained in shocked silence, their mouths open in disbelief at Naruto's astonishing declaration. As of now, there has been no information regarding Yoruichi's romantic involvement with any man. There were speculations regarding her feelings for her childhood friend Kazuki, however, Kukaku had addressed and clarified these matters some time ago. This unexpected change could solely be ascribed to the influence of her experiences in the living world. Kukaku exhaled deeply. The combination of Yoruichi and marriage is something I never anticipated encountering together. Yoruichi gracefully extricated herself from his grasp and transformed into her feline form, leaving Kukaku's attire behind. We are simply engaging in some lighthearted fun, Kukaku. Naruto currently has 3 or 4 romantic interests. Clarity enveloped Kukaku. She and Yoruichi held a mutual perspective on intimate relationships. They were restraints that confined them, depriving them of their invaluable liberty. The prospect was draining, a complication they chose to sidestep. The realm of romance presented a complex landscape they opted to avoid. Please take care of yourself. As the obsidian butterfly fluttered, Naruto's message, imbued with warmth, resonated within Apache's consciousness. Her heart raced, reflecting the butterfly gliding in front of her. Very kind. She directed her attention to the other hollow adjacent to her. The Arankar with olive hair is adorned in a sophisticated kimono. Sung-sun developed an appreciation for traditional Japanese attire. Do you have a moment to discuss? Sung-sun had deferred their departure for 2 sunrises. The Snake Princess has recently developed a keen interest in frequenting the library, where she immerses herself in a variety of literary genres. Apache experienced a hint of sadness at Naruto's departure. Otherwise, she would have promptly returned Sung-sun to Hueco Mundo. Let's proceed to enhance your collection of souls. You will evolve into. Sung-sun spoke with a playful tone, a knowing smile gracing her lips. An impressive lord. A tense silence enveloped the conversation. I am not overweight, Apache stated with a hint of frustration. You have a slender physique. Whether one is slender or overweight, it is of no consequence. My cherished partner values me greatly. His opinion is the only one that holds significance. Apache's words failed to undermine her unwavering confidence. It occurred solely due to my own decision, Apache remarked, alluding to the assistance she provided to Sung-sun. I was skeptical about your ability to achieve this. You exhibit a remarkable lack of discretion, Sung-sun. Sung-sun displayed a subtle smirk. Everything revolves around the struggle for survival. What is the reason for comparing your romantic relationship to a survival situation? This situation is critically important to me. Sung-sun looked at her with a blank expression. I would have taken drastic measures if he hadn't accepted me. Being with Naruto is as essential to me as breathing. Apache's brows furrowed in response to Sung-sun's remarks. Was she genuinely conveying the truth, or was it merely another one of her strategies? The subtle twitch at the corner of Sung-sun's mouth failed to clarify her confusion. Apache dismissed the notion and initiated a rift to Garganta utilizing Discord. Please proceed. Only Naruto, my husband, can bring me to satisfaction. As Apache and Sung-sun emerged from the Garganta, they encountered a landscape that was both haunting and familiar. The white desert of Hueco Mundo, a place that had witnessed the birth of many hollows, including their own. The wind of the arid desert swirled around them, pulling at the edges of Sung-sun's kimono and sending Apache's hair into a chaotic flutter. Apache neatly arranged her hair. This location appears less vibrant compared to our previous visit. Sung-sun discreetly covered her mouth with her sleeve. We have experienced the vibrant essence of humanity. Undoubtedly, this arid desert may appear devoid of life at present. Her eyes glimmered as she turned towards the west. Are you sensing that, Apache? Apache's head turned towards the west, her senses detecting a familiar Ryotsu. The location where Naruto transformed into an Arankar. His Ryotsu remains exceptionally potent in this location. It is essential to assign a name to that location. The King's Stand. A distinguished name for the location of our King's Ascension. Apache expressed her disapproval of Sung-sun's exaggerated behavior. Would you be open to us reviewing it? Their destination, the Forest of Manos, was in the opposite direction. However, the allure of basking in Naruto's residual Ryotsu was simply too compelling to resist. A sense of nostalgia called to her. There is no need to inquire. They traversed the desert, allowing their presence to be fully expressed. Naruto's current strength instilled complete confidence. It is worth noting that they could potentially compete with Vasto Lord if they collaborated in battle. Their Ryotsu effectively drove away the nearby hollows, with the exception of the group that remained in the cave they previously inhabited. There was more to it. Apache observed a solitary hollow positioned outside the cave, equipped with a lance. Nelliel, having previously occupied the cave, maintained her position against a pair of ravenous Ajukas. Is that an Ajukas? Apache extended her tongue. This is exactly what I required. Sung-sun focused intently. There seems to be an issue that requires attention. Typically, a threatened hollow would instinctively emit Ryotsu as a form of defense. The hollow before them exhibited clear signs of distress. Sung-sun could discern the fear reflected in those eyes. However, there was a notable lack of aggression, suggesting that the hollow was not inclined to engage in combat. You do not appear to be hollows, Nelliel remarked, her gaze sharpening on the woman who was licking her lips. Could you please identify yourself and clarify your intentions? Nelliel's gentle voice indicated her gender to Sung-sun and Apache. It is uncommon to encounter a female Ajukas, Sung-sun remarked, gesturing towards Apache. Regarding our intentions, my colleague here wishes to engage with you. incorporate you into her life. Will you choose to surrender or defend your existence? Nelliel's expression turned somber. As anticipated, she murmured. Please refrain from expressing your spiritual pressure in this space. We will address this matter in a different setting. She had to convince the two women to relocate from this area. She relocated her small companions to this cave, where she could utilize the Ryotsu of a Vasto Lord to deter unsuspecting hollows. Despite her deep aversion to death, the prospects for her survival in a conflict of this scale appeared grim. She would continue to assert herself and advocate for her survival. I am not equipped to take on the role of a hollow. It was remarkable that she had managed to endure this long without eliminating a single hollow. Apache gently massaged the back of her head. To achieve Vasto Lord status, she was required to consume souls and master her untamed instincts. However, she paused when faced with the woman in front of her. The centaur-like hollow remained unmoved despite Sung Sun's foreboding announcement, even while confronting two hollows that surpassed her capabilities. It was as though she had come to terms with her own demise. Nelliel awakened memories of Apache's history within her. Although she did not take pride in her past cowardice, she regarded those moments of weakness as valued memories. Ultimately, they facilitated her introduction to Naruto. Apache exhaled deeply. Are you providing support for those who are less capable? Nelliel's eyes expanded in surprise behind her hollow mask. Nelliel responded with a firm shake of her head, indicating her disapproval. The formidable Ryotsu surrounding us has enabled me to evade numerous potential confrontations. I desire for this location to serve as a sanctuary for vulnerable hollows. Nelliel held a strong aversion to dishonesty. However, safeguarding her young companions took precedence over the burden of guilt associated with deception. Sung Sun remarked with enthusiasm. Indeed, this location holds great significance, as it is where our husband transformed into an Arankar. The Ryotsu you are sensing is associated with him. Nelliel swallowed with apprehension. She had observed the Vasto Lord in question and had even perceived his encounter with Berrigan. He held a level of power that she could never hope to replicate. Is that so? Who is he? His identity is irrelevant, Apache stated firmly. I am not concerned with your desire to protect someone. I intend to eliminate you and consume you. Sung Sun chuckled softly and gently pulled at Apache's shirt. You ceased your hesitation when you considered the possibility of her developing feelings for our husband, you envious individual. Apache averted her eyes from Sung Sun. I did not. What inspired you to come up with that idea? It seems you exhibit quite a sense of possessiveness. Nelliel observed in quiet disbelief as the two hollows, initially intent on consuming her, engaged in a lighthearted exchange. Despite Apache's irritation, she recognized the proximity she shared with Sung Sun. They have a common partner. It is expected that they will have a close relationship. In contrast to their camaraderie, Nelliel experienced a distinct sense of isolation. Her small hollow companions were unable to engage in conversation, resulting in frequent feelings of loneliness. Sung Sun gradually redirected her attention to Nelliel, her expression now more gentle. Apache, please take a moment to observe this charming individual. She prefers to avoid conflict, similar to our Harribel-sama. It would be best to allow her some space and proceed to the Manos forest. Very well, Apache conceded with a sigh, her finger directed pointedly at Nelliel. However, this is contingent upon one specific condition. Challenge me. Positioning herself between them, Sung Sun declared, I will serve as the referee. At this intersection, one can find Apache. On the opposite side is, could you please share your name? Nelliel 2 Odelschwenk. Please feel free to call me Nelliel, Nelliel stated. Or Nell 2. Nell 2, Sung Sun reiterated with a tone of gratitude. That is a lovely name. Nelliel's brow furrowed behind her mask, contemplating whether Sung Sun's praise was sincere or laced with sarcasm. Could we possibly avoid conflict? Competing solely out of a desire to win can come across as unrefined and immature. Sung Sun had previously clarified that Apache would not consume her, rendering this entire conflict unwarranted. There was no longer any justification for conflict. I embody the spirit of an animal, Apache remarked with a chuckle. You are not competing for dominance. You will be striving to safeguard your life and the hollows you wish to defend. The reference to her valued associates intensified the focus in Nelliel's eyes. Her determination was evident. She was committed to taking every necessary measure to ensure their safety. I will always stand firm in defense of what I value. This bold statement resonated with both Apache and Sung Sun. Ultimately, all individuals within the inverse held a common belief in prioritizing their loved ones over their own interests. With the exception of Chiruchi, who held no affection for the concept of sacrifice. Nelliel advanced with a fierce determination, directing her lance towards Apache's face, a powerful gust trailing behind her strike. Apache executed a powerful counterattack, skillfully deflecting the lance, then utilized Sonido to position herself above Nelliel and deliver a decisive downward kick. Nelliel utilized her own Sonido, her form becoming indistinct as she deftly avoided the attack. Even for an individual who abhorred violence, her proficiency in Sonido was remarkable, rivaling that of Apache herself. As Apache approached, Nelliel responded with a forceful kick from her hind legs. Apache was compelled to cross her arms in a defensive manner. The powerful impact propelled her backward, resulting in a loss of sensation in her arms. What an impressive display of legs! Apache faced no respite as Nelliel charged forward, her lance surrounded by a vibrant pink Ryotsu. Regaining her composure, Apache adeptly maneuvered around Nelliel's barrage of fierce strikes. Nelliel's centaur-like physique endowed her with impressive strength, with her kicks surpassing the power of her arms. Although her attacks were less threatening, Apache still could not risk confronting them directly. Due to their physical differences, Apache depended significantly on her intuition to evade Nelliel's strikes. Amidst the intense onslaught, Nelliel executed a precise kick, propelling the Arrancar backward. Nelliel's instincts excelled in the domain of close combat. Apache, feeling a sense of irritation, reached for her cuffs but hesitated in her movement. She did not employ her Zanpakuto in the confrontation with an Ajukas that was not even classified as an Arrancar. "Could you please share the source of that weapon?" "In one of the ruins," Nelliel replied, her eyes showcasing a resolute determination. She remained undeterred by the ongoing clash. "The lance enhances my combat technique." Following their brief exchange, the two individuals engaged in another confrontation. Nelliel's combat technique focused on accurately targeting an opponent's vital points with her lance, while employing her powerful legs to execute devastating strikes. Apache, in the absence of her Zanpakuto, embraced a more direct and forceful strategy, reminiscent of a brawler. Despite possessing greater Ryotsu and raw power, Apache found herself at a disadvantage. Nelliel's advanced technique maintained her defensive position, hindering her ability to launch any offensive maneuvers. The situation was determined not by battle experience, but by sheer skill. Nelliel, despite her limited battle experience, was clearly surpassing Apache. The future number 3 Espada demonstrated an innate ability and sharp insight for combat that was truly captivating. Sung Sun found it difficult to comprehend the situation unfolding before her. "Wow, Apache. She is undermining your efforts." Naruto's enhancements, the valuable souls of a Vasto Lord, followed by the augmentation from Hogyoku. Yet Apache was unable to strike against an Ajukas who displayed little interest in combat. She would have the capability to defeat Nelliel if she utilized her Zanpakuto and Resurrección. However, in their absence, she would be at a significant disadvantage against Nelliel. It was profoundly embarrassing. "Please hold on a moment." Apache, feeling flustered, requested a pause, the intensity of her embarrassment evident in the warmth of her ears. She took a step back and directed a fierce glare at Sung Sun. "I was conducting an evaluation of her capabilities." "Certainly." Nelliel assessed her opponent with keen observation. "Would you like to proceed?" "We are in the initial stages, Nell." A crimson light began to coalesce on her forehead horn as she concentrated a substantial amount of Riryoku into a Sero. She executed the Sero Ray with a fierce determination. This represented her most formidable Sero in this form, surpassed only by the enhanced Sero she could generate in her release state. Nelliel maintained her composure as the formidable Sero drew near. To the astonishment of Sung Sun, who was preparing to intervene, Nelliel opened her mouth and consumed the entire Sero Ray. A subtle burp resonated in the aftermath, as if she had merely assimilated the energy. "What in the world?" Sung Sun inhaled sharply. That action is against the law. Apache was left in a state of shock. Particularly notable was the moment when Nelliel unleashed a pink Sero ray, demonstrating a level of destruction that surpassed that of Apache's Sero. Apache was compelled to utilize Sonido to evade its trajectory. Otherwise, she would have faced significant injury. Nelliel directed her gaze towards Sung's son. Sero double is one of my skills. I consume Sero, augment it with my own enhancements, and then engage my opponent strategically. Apache blinked her eyes, carefully processing the events that had just transpired. Could you please share how you acquired that knowledge? I did not. I had a sense of it the moment I opened my eyes as an Ajukas. Apache had never viewed herself in relation to Naruto because of his unique standing. However, observing an Ajukas skillfully neutralize her formidable Sero attack served as a stark reminder of the inequities present in the world. Apache's Resurrección form permitted her to unleash an enhanced Sero, while Nelliel possessed the distinctive capability to redirect her opponent's Sero back at them. Furthermore, Nelliel had not yet taken off her mask. A disconcerting thought entered Apache's mind. If Nelliel were to become an Arrancar, she questioned her ability to overcome her. With determination, she directed a fierce glare towards Nelliel. You? She took a moment of pause, and others followed suit. They sensed a presence within Naruto's dominant energy. A Ryotsu that is characteristic of a class above Ajukas, a Vasto Lord. Nelliel initiated a charge with determination, swiftly making her way to the cave. Her associates were at risk. Yoruichi was not anticipating that her interactions with Kaien would proceed without complications. However, she had not factored in Naruto's voice. She offered abundant commendation for his captivating voice that defied all reasoning. How did he obtain that? Even Kazuki, a man recognized for his unwavering quest for knowledge, regarded the captivating quality of Naruto's voice as a mystery, ultimately designating it as Naruto's natural gift. While certain individuals struggled in the cycle of reincarnation, transforming into memory-less blanks, Naruto managed to gain significant advantages from a imperfect reincarnation. Not everything can be attributed to coincidence. There must be a rationale behind it. Her curiosity sparked with intense fervor. His capacity to transition between Quincy and Hollow has disrupted the confines of traditional lore and historical understanding. Additionally, he was nearing the achievement of obtaining a Zanpakuto and transitioning into a fully qualified Shinigami. He has not yet reached his full potential. If he were to survive, he would certainly attain a level surpassing that of Captain Commander Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto, potentially approaching the stature of the Soul King, the divine figure presiding over the Soul Society. However, he never appeared to possess the qualities associated with leadership over others. A lighthearted and carefree disposition that mirrored her own, she felt a sense of confidence in him and his team, believing they would always choose the right path. Reclining beneath the tree, she observed the silver-haired gentleman positioned against the trunk. I look forward to observing his future developments. It was not an everyday occurrence for her to encounter a man of his caliber. To enhance the likelihood of his journey reaching completion, she devised a few strategies. One of them was providing him with the knowledge of Shunko, the highest form of Hakudo techniques. Naruto observed her gaze and elevated an eyebrow. How can I assist you today? Yoruichi declined with a shake of her head. No location can compare to the atmosphere of the Soul Society. That is due to your upbringing in this area, he remarked with a smile. Nostalgia can be an incredibly powerful experience. With a composed demeanor, Yoruichi observed him attentively. Your expression seems less cheerful at the moment. Are you having second thoughts about your decision to come here? Naruto's eyes widened before he erupted into laughter, a contagious sound that could elicit a smile even from the most serious individual. Had Yoruichi possessed a lesser resolve, she might have found herself laughing alongside him. Yoruichi, that was not a wise decision. Would you like to know the reason? The black cat fixed her gaze on his cynical remark with a discerning expression. What is the reason for this? You seem to believe that my purpose is to complete your misguided task. He reclined against the tree, his hand positioned on his forehead, a smirk of contempt evident on his face. I did not choose to forfeit my tranquil existence for your agenda. I hold no affection for the Soul Society or its inhabitants. In fact, I would not object to witnessing its complete destruction by fire. Yoruichi's ryotsu intensified. Despite her exile and the treatment she received, she held a deep affection for the Soul Society. He continued, I am here of my own accord because I have something to gain. Could you please clarify what it is? Determine the solution independently. In addition to encountering Unohana and awakening his own Zanpakuto as a Shinigami, he possessed a personal agenda that motivated his assistance to them. Securing a significant favor from Yoruichi and Kazuki, two of the most esteemed educators in the Bleach universe. With their assistance, his strength would elevate to a new level. They played an essential role in actualizing his fusion plans. Yoruichi expressed her exasperation with a roll of her eyes. Given your tendencies, it's likely someone of that nature. Shifting her focus away from concerns, partner, you need to be more assertive. Nami discerned his cynical facade effortlessly. They were truly meant for each other. It is disheartening to observe her displaying such concern. She shines brightest when delivering humorous quips and playfully engaging with others. Causing unnecessary concern for a woman was not in his character. He gently lifted the black cat and positioned her comfortably on his lap. What if I were to suggest that it is you, Lady Yoruichi? I must say, you are quite inexperienced to pursue me. I am not inclined to wait an extended period of time. What qualities do you seek in a partner? There is nothing at all. Yoruichi deftly extricated herself from his hold and swiftly moved away. She glanced over her shoulder, her golden eyes shimmering as she tilted her head. No individual in this world can restrain Flash Goddess Yoruichi. Rather than feeling disappointment, she encountered his cheerful laughter. In that case, I may have an opportunity, he remarked with an enigmatic smile. Please remain for a moment. I require your assistance with a matter. Yoruichi approached him and gently tapped him with her soft paws. Could you please clarify what it is? Could you please teach me some Kido? Could you please clarify why? Ultimately, you will acquire that knowledge during your time at the academy? Kido received significant attention in the academy, as students rarely manifested the Shikai form of their Zanpakuto. The Kido spells remained the primary means of offense and defense for the students, even after their transition into Shinigami. Naruto gently patted her head. I would appreciate the opportunity to learn from you. Provide comprehensive instruction, covering everything from foundational concepts to the most advanced topics. Utilize these 17 days effectively. The Shinigami's admission is still 17 days away. Kaien suggested securing his admission immediately through his influence. He, naturally, declined. He preferred not to draw attention to himself by being linked with the Shiba clan. Yoruichi lay on her back, playfully swinging her paw in the air. You have mistaken my identity. I am merely a relaxed feline, enjoying the tranquil waves as the sun sets. Cease that action. Kindly provide me with instructions, because I am simply a relaxed feline. I have decided to return to the living world. Naruto stood up and made his way to Kukaku's residence. Yoruichi stifled a yawn, her golden eyes tracking the figure as he moved away. Similar to many felines, Yoruichi exhibited a tendency for afternoon lethargy, especially in a warm and inviting setting. She ascended onto a branch, permitting her body to unwind. However, a sudden influx of energy effectively interrupted her drowsiness, bringing her back to a state of alertness. She identified this energy, a consequence of the spatial distortions generated by Senkaimon, the dimensional gate. The gate opened momentarily before abruptly closing, and all traces of Naruto's ryotsu vanished. He had departed from the Soul Society. He was not joking. A sudden sense of urgency overtook her as she swiftly moved to his last known location using her shunpo. She recognized that her lack of diligence and attention had put the success of her important mission at risk. Frustrating. When did he become so sensitive? Upon reaching the site where the Senkaimon had manifested, she encountered Kaien's wife, Miyako, who was positioned there with a notably serious demeanor. Where has Naruto gone? Yoruichi inquired with a sense of urgency. Karakura Town, Miyako responded. He felt a deep longing for his spouses. I understand that sentiment, so I asked Kaien to accompany him. The Shinigami's regulations prohibited the opening of a Senkaimon for personal motives. However, the Shiba couple demonstrated a willingness to disregard certain protocols on his behalf. Yoruichi exhaled deeply, releasing a heavy sigh. What is this? Kazuki, and she granted Naruto the liberty to visit his family whenever he wished. Nevertheless, a subtle sense of apprehension lingered within Yoruichi, a persistent worry that he might not come back after she overlooked his request for instruction. Miyako, please escort me to Karakura Town. What is the reason for this? Please refrain from inquiring. Understood. In a remote area of the first district, two young individuals relaxed outside their humble residence, enjoying the refreshing taste of a ripe watermelon. Unexpectedly, a shockwave coursed through them, capturing their focus on the northern areas of the district. The young girl with short twintails furrowed her brow in confusion. Could you please clarify what that was? The young boy with short silver hair reflected her frown. It was the second option, correct? I will verify it. Shiro-chan, let's proceed. Please refrain from using that term. Consequently, the inexperienced duo of Momo Hinamori and Toshiro Hitsugaya embarked on a quest to investigate the enigmatic variations of spiritual energies present in their district. At their current age, they were largely unaware of the concepts of Riryoku and Ryotsu. Nonetheless, their world was on the verge of expanding in ways they had not foreseen. Kaien surveyed the vibrant marketplace of Karakura Town, a reflective glimmer in his eyes as he recalled fond memories of enjoying local delicacies. His stomach growled with desire, yet without a gigai, he was unable to satisfy his cravings. His focus shifted from a stall serving his favorite ohagi to Naruto, whose thoughts appeared to be wandering in deep contemplation. At the same time, Naruto was focusing intently on Harribel's Ryotsu. Her presence was noticeable in the area, while Apache, Mila Rose, Sung Sun, and Chiruchi had seemingly vanished. It was probable that they had left, and Apache's intentions were clear: an increase in souls, enhanced power, and a progression towards achieving the status of a Vasto Lord. Sung Sun, always the playful yet loyal companion, had accompanied Apache. Mila Rose may have undertaken a comparable journey to enhance her strength, given her competitive nature, accompanied by Chiruchi. I anticipated this outcome. He had previously sought Kazuki's expertise to develop a device capable of generating camouflaging force fields on demand. He could only anticipate that they had utilized the device prior to opening a Garganta, or the Gotei 13 would initiate an investigation. This time, there will be multiple vice captains appointed. They left Harribel alone. Nami muttered, "You are a failure as a son." Ouch. Naruto's palm automatically moved to his chest, as if he could practically feel the anguish of her words. I will make up for it. Don't forget Yoruichi. You left her after claiming you didn't want to bother ladies. You're breaking your own rules, partner. Nami made Naruto think of the black cat that was lazier than him on his worst days. He had left the Soul Society to see how his loves were doing in his absence. His leaving would cause Yoruichi to reconsider his genuine wish to educate him. You are more concerned about Yoruichi than about me. Is there anything I should be aware of? I'm concerned about you, partner. I don't want you to ruin your opportunity with her by being unhappy and miserable. I want to see my spouse happy. Ah, you're very lovely today. What have I done to deserve this treatment? Absolutely nothing. Partner, I couldn't care less about your ladies. They are simply transient diversions on our never-ending road to transcendence. Nami promises to be at your side indefinitely. He let out a sigh. The more he tried to avoid thinking about his long existence, the more Nami drew it to his notice. Sorry, that's fine. Kaien touched his shoulder, arousing him from his musings. Where do you want to go? Kaien, you can eat anything here. I will be back in a few hours. He'd prefer not invite Kaien to his mansion, where his Hollows pals reside. Kaien punched his arm. You did notice me throughout your group date. Why have you ignored me? And were those women from Quincy? He just nodded, intending to let the misconception about Harribel and the other's ethnicity persist. It was a more secure facade than their hollow reality. Don't tell the Soul Society about them or I'll ignore you for the rest of my life. I'm not a snitch, Kaien said with a shrug. Just don't betray my trust by planning the next war or I'll punch in the face myself. He was so trusting because of Naruto's close connection with Yoruichi, who had long been a friend of his sister. Naruto's heroism in visiting the Soul Society to track down the villainous captain also gained him Kaien's esteem. Naruto displayed amazement. Are you already onto me? Who exposed me? Kayan made a disapproving click of his tongue. I'll return to the Soul Society to collect some bounties and a gigai. Find me here at 6. I got you. By the way, thanks for assisting me. No worries. Kayan answered by stroking the back of his head, a tinge of shyness on his face at the genuine thankfulness. Not everyone in the Soul Society is rooting for Quincy. There are those like myself who don't care. Kayan, you're a slick talker. If I were a girl, I would fall for you right now. Kayan's expression shifted from shy to irritated in a split second, rewarding Naruto's taunting with a powerful punch in the back. Get lost already. Stop punching me, jeez. My bad. Naruto parted ways with Kayan and made sure his spiritual strain was entirely veiled as he proceeded towards Harribel's location. He discovered her resting on a grassy riverbank, her attention engrossed in observing a bunch of youngsters having fun in a faraway park. It would be an understatement to suggest that any parent would be concerned to witness Harribel, the intimidating, queenly figure, obviously following their kid. Aside from her parents, Harribel had quite a following. He watched a few onlookers pause in their steps to watch her. It wouldn't be shocking if a local news team arrived to interview the enigmatic lady in town. Harribel became aware of his presence when she heard his sneakers crunching on the grass. You're back, she muttered, her expression shifting between astonishment and relief. Did you fail the entrance? Her voice had a gleam of optimism, as if she hoped he had failed and would therefore spend more time at her side. It's half a month away, Tyr, he remarked, sitting down next to her. What's going on here? Thinking about kidnapping children to replace me? You're irreplaceable, she said plainly while shaking her head. I was just watching them play about in the park. It's serene yet active here. Her statements were a veiled acknowledgement of her isolation, having been left behind while her family followed their own ways. She rested her head on his shoulder and put her arms over his, cradling it against her breast. Do you feel lonely? A little, she acknowledged, her voice barely above a whisper. I am not worried about them. It's only that I didn't anticipate them to depart in this manner when I took them under my wing. The time came for the chicks to embrace the sky, he told me, and that's a good thing, isn't it? Harribel let out a sigh. You made it, everything possible. Without his presence in her life, they may have been locked in Hueco Mundo for forever. Her simple choice to offer a polite invitation had a significant impact on her life trajectory. She may lead a more compassionate existence than other hollows. She was quite thankful. After a few more tranquil minutes, they returned to the mansion. Some interested bystanders tried to follow them, but he easily avoided them by taking unnecessarily complex paths through the market. Back at the mansion, he opened a garganta inside the force field. I'm going to check up on others. I'll be fine here. I enjoy exploring the town on my own. Despite her best attempts to seem optimistic, the grief in her voice was as clear as day. Then join me. I need your help with something. When he invited me, my aqua-green eyes brightened up. I'll do anything. Her yearning was almost strong enough to elicit a lustful plea from him. He took deep breaths to steady his beating heart and quiet his yearning. Harribel noticed the variation in his ryotsu and grabbed for his hand to check for symptoms of weariness or sickness. Is there something wrong? We may rest if you are exhausted. He shook his head before guiding her inside the garganta. They walked into the pitch-black emptiness, talking casually about his adventures in the Soul Society. Harribel was a lady with few words, which made her a great listener. Her acute observation also enabled her to react with the ideal combination of empathy and compassion. He felt rejuvenated after a lengthy talk with her. Partner, you are sinking deeper. That's okay. Tyr deserves all of the attention. His stream of thinking was suddenly halted as he perceived a large ryotsu presence nearby. Coincidentally, it was situated near where he had attained Arankar rank. He could also detect Apache and Sung Sun close, but they didn't seem to be fighting the new Vasto Lord. Harribel's face was clouded with a sad frown. I recognize Ryotsu, the man who forced me to become Vasto Lord. Naruto, I want to stop his rampage. The notion of meeting Nitra Gilga nearly made him smirk. He intended to attract future Espada like his Stark, Grimjow, Nelliel, and perhaps Ulquiorra to strengthen his and Harribel's kingdoms. However, the minute he noticed Harribel's troubled expression, Nitra's name was immediately crossed off his list. I'll murder him for upsetting Tyr. Ah, lover, you're very charming when you exhibit your yandere side. He blocked out the compulsive voice in his thoughts, which had been a habit by now. He took Harribel's hands and smiled slightly. Don't get your hands soiled with his blood. You should visit Apache and Sung Sun. Harribel nodded, indicating her comprehension. Everyone in the family understood how much she despised senseless violence by now. She could grow bloodthirsty, like she did during her combat with Avanya, something she wouldn't want to show Naruto. There are other hollows nearby. Try not to kill them with your Ryotsu, Harribel urged, sprinting in Apache's direction. Naruto emerged from the Garganta, and the Vasto Lord turned to confront him. A guy hollow dressed in white armor from head to toe. His long, black hair flowed freely, and his hollow mask had a strangely broad and enormous smile. Two enormous crescent-shaped horns graced his head. Each of his forearms ended in a sharp, curved blade, while the ends of his legs were shaped like claws with lengthened fingertips. Nitra was a scary hollow even without his Vasto Lord level Ryotsu. Nitra felt a cold shudder go down the spine of his spirit, prickling his flesh in frostbitten excitement. A hollow so frighteningly strong that his presence seemed like the sky itself. He was Nitra's golden ticket, the key to unleashing power beyond his wildest dreams, the promise of heart-pounding, adrenaline-laced conflicts that fueled his battle-hungry soul. Perhaps a grim reaper would send him directly to hell after an exciting fight. Nitra flung his head back and laughed. A new Vasto Lord. I'll take my time destroying you. His claim was cut short as a vice-like grip gripped his heart. Naruto's hands blazed with blue light, symbolizing the severe impacts of oppression. Nitra choked and spasmed. Dancing on the edge of his consciousness until the world swirled, his eyes dilated, and his body went numb. His heart, however, refused to comply, each pulse slamming like a storm into his chest, the only sound in a silent universe. Nitra summoned every ounce of resolve and clung to the thin strands of his awareness. If he had to die, he would do it on his feet, covered in his own and his enemy's blood. To die without a struggle, without even the opportunity to draw his swords, was a fate that instilled sheer dread in his heart. Nitra faltered, reaching out in a fruitless gesture to his attacker. Don't, coward. All he got in response was a smug smile from his enemy, and the glow in his hands just kept getting brighter. And just like that, the final bits of his world faded into nothingness, and Nitra drifted off into unconsciousness. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? Naruto shrugged off his shoulders, shaking off the dust. He thought of Nitra as a Vasto Lord in name only, with his Ryotsu barely reaching the level of Apache's top Resurrection form. This difference really turned his oppression technique into a total powerhouse. He had taken control of every part of Nitra's body, cutting off the blood flow to the heart, thickening his blood, and making his brain fluids heavier. Souls that were pretty advanced and acted a lot like humans were particularly susceptible to his aspect of death. I ought to be better than the average captains. He thought for a moment and then shifted his focus to the unconscious Nitra. He stomped down hard, crushing Nitra's head, and the soft crunch echoed in the eerie silence. Nitra remembered Chiruchi going through an existential crisis, just like he did. To deal with her despair, Chiruchi ended up hurting others. She was completely overwhelmed with despair when her only source of joy was taken from her. Nitra was like a more exaggerated, lecherous version of Chiruchi, and he definitely had a bigger sexist streak than Mila Rose with his constant arrogance towards women. Apache's got another soul to munch on. You know what? I'm handing it over to Sung Sun. He couldn't always favor Apache. The Snake Princess deserved some free time for being such a supportive partner. I took a quick look at the cave and saw that none of the weak hollows had been hurt. He kept his promise to Harribel. As he turned on his heel, he spotted Apache, Sung Sun, and Harribel coming his way, along with a centaur hollow that seemed oddly familiar to him. Nelliel? Yep, that's her, she's still in Ajukas. She rushed right past him and into the cave. He could sense the little hollows gathering around her, much like a bunch of kids clustering around their mom. He started to see how Nitra, Nelliel being in Ajukas, and her kindness to the little hollows were all linked together. He understood that if he hadn't been there, Nitra would have taken out her little friends, setting off a series of events that would have definitely pushed Nelliel to evolve. It felt strangely familiar, like a replay of the events that had sparked Harribel's transformation into a Vasto Lord. I took her opportunity away. Nelliel and Harribel, both ranked number 3 Espada, found themselves becoming Vasto Lord under similar circumstances. Here's another interesting link between them. The 3 women watched him, their curiosity growing as he sat there deep in thought. They often found themselves curious about what his Zanpakuto spirit was like. His chats with it seemed to take over his mind, leaving him looking a bit dazed, as if he were in a realm that only he could reach. Apache grabbed his shirt tightly. I'm munching on this knucklehead Vasto Lord. Without waiting for his thoughts, she confidently marched towards Nitra, her steps reflecting her belief in his approval. He always went along with her requests for souls, even going so far as to take lives to provide them for her. He quickly reached out and grabbed her wrist. Apache, why don't we let Sung's son take this one? It felt like time stood still as Apache turned around slowly, a shadow hiding her face. Naruto. What's going on? Do you still like me? Do I not matter anymore? She couldn't help but feel confused about his favoritism for Sung's son, and her thoughts started to spiral into a dark place. Each hollow had that one thing, you know? A topic that really got them fired up or even a bit worked up. For Apache, it felt like the possibility of being pushed out of his life. Harribel playfully slapped Apache's back, nearly knocking her off her feet. Quit bothering him about trivial stuff. Harribel, you know. Just as she was about to go after Harribel, Naruto playfully pinched her cheeks, turning her pale skin a nice shade of red. You already had a Vasto Lord and a few Ajukas before. Let's help Sung's son grow strong. The girl is really struggling right now. Just call me wife, Sung's son replied with a smile. Thanks a bunch for your gift, I'm going to savor every bite. She opened her mouth wide and created a powerful suction that broke Nitra's body apart into a swirl of particles. In just a matter of seconds, Nitra vanished completely. Arankars had a unique way of consuming souls that really distinguished them from the more animalistic hollows. Sung's son gave her belly a gentle pat with her big sleeve, feeling a bit more powerful than she did earlier. That sounds delicious. Nelliel came back from her cave, and her tall figure made Naruto feel surprisingly small. She stood there, gripping her spear tightly, watching him closely. She pictured him as this huge, intimidating hollow, all because of his Ryotsu. He looked nothing like what she had imagined. I really appreciate you saving my friends. Naruto just shook his head. Harribel has shown me that pointless violence leads to nothing good. Apache let out a cough. She was the only one who had seen his brutal experiments on his foes. She was the only one who really understood his wicked heart, a secret she kept to herself. Nelliel's eyes twinkled playfully behind her mask. Absolutely right. Those little things haven't done anything wrong at all. They just want to make it through out here, but every hollow is after them. It really gets to me. Nelliel just couldn't wrap her head around how many weaker hollows were out there, suffering because of Maino's crazy need to gobble them up. Harribel's expression relaxed as she heard Nelliel share her concerns. She walked over to Nelliel and gently reached out to stroke her back. I promise there will be a day when your friends can explore Hueco Mundo without worrying about their safety. Nelliel's eyes grew wide at Harribel's daring remark. She took a step back and shook her head, brushing off Harribel's dream right away. It's pretty much impossible to change the natural, gluttonous instincts that we all have. It's great to know there are folks like you in Hueco Mundo who only fight when there's a good reason. Harribel could pick up on Nelliel's doubts, which makes perfect sense given how things are in Hueco Mundo right now. How about joining us? Everyone was surprised by the offer. Sorry, I can't do that, Nelliel replied without a second thought. She spoke with a strong voice, and you could tell she was completely determined. They count on me to keep them safe. Nelliel's kindness made Naruto think of Harribel's soft demeanor. Nelliel was definitely an energetic person, whether she was in her toddler form or her usual self. The Nell we saw before Nitra's ambush was definitely a different person. She seemed less vibrant and a lot more serious. We can share the responsibility, Harribel said, looking over at Naruto. She had a spark of determination in her eyes. How about we set up shop in this cave as our base in Hueco Mundo until we get our plans rolling? The cave held so many memories, like the first time he met Mila Rose and Sung Sun, his incredible growth during training, all those heartfelt moments, and his transformation into an Arrancar. This spot is just perfect for kicking off their takeover of Las Noches. Apache let out a huff, crossing her arms over her chest. I'm not sure. Why not just lay siege to Las Noches and grab Barragan's place or something? Looks like this place finally has a name. I call it the King's Stand, Sung Sun said with a flare, glancing over at Naruto for a nod of approval. He responded with a charming smile. I'd love to hear what you think first. Naruto rubbed his chin thoughtfully. In his ideal scenario, his hollow friends wouldn't be stuck in Hueco Mundo when Aizen kicks off his conquest there, which could really happen at any moment. It would definitely be an issue if Aizen bumped into Harribel or any other Arrancar and decided to take an interest in them. He needed to talk them into keeping their distance from Hueco Mundo for a while. He had a bunch of strategies bouncing around in his head, and he picked the one that seemed to fit the situation best. No one is sticking around in Hueco Mundo after this, he said with a serious tone. I got some info that there's a dangerous person out there looking to hunt hollows and use them as test subjects. He's a tougher opponent than I can deal with at the moment. Nelliel found herself wrapped up in the soothing rhythm of his voice, completely overlooking the important details he was sharing. She still hadn't figured out how to guard herself against his captivating voice. Apache, on the other hand, blinked her eyes. His achievement of taking down Barragan really solidified his status as a god in her eyes. In her eyes, he was definitely the most powerful person, no question about it. Just the thought of someone stronger than him sent chills down her spine. With her fists clenched, she pushed aside the fear and let a smirk escape. He'll move past that enemy in a few years. Yeah, me too. She was aiming for strength in a way that seemed a bit over the top. Sung Sun, tapping her cheeks thoughtfully, said with a hint of playfulness, you know, as natural Arrancars, we'd make the perfect guinea pigs, right? Yeah, Naruto agreed. We're just the best examples of what we can be. Harribel crossed her arms with a defiant look. Let's face him together. Feeling really confident in her strength, she made a proposal. She really didn't like the idea of having a criminal on the loose. She was fearless, not letting fear sway her choices, a remarkable but also risky trait for a queen. He just shook his head. Could you please listen to me? Harribel looked at him for a bit, then let out a sigh that showed she had given up. I'm going to bring Mila Rose and Chiruchi back home. She just went along with what he said. Still, she rarely challenged his decisions, even though she was the older one in their relationship. What a great mom. Thanks a lot. Make sure to watch for those strong hollows that have some interesting personalities. I'm going to turn them into Arrancars using Kazuki's Hogyoku. He turned to look at Nelliel, who had been really engaged in their chat. If you're looking for some peace in Hueco Mundo, why not join us? You can stick with your friends, no need to leave them behind. I just want you to be there with us. Nelliel was really paying attention to him, getting to know his character better with each word he said. It's surprising how someone with the power to take down a Vasto Lord in an instant can also have such a gentle side. Despite the huge difference in their power, he always showed her a steady respect. His calmness and charm left a lasting impression on her heart. He had all the qualities she would want in a great leader. If that's the case, I don't see any reason not to support your cause, but there's one thing I should know. Her speech was sweet, but her eyes were sharp. She put a hand over her heart. How do you intend to bring peace? He closes his eyes. Through the only method known to hollows. Violence. We will reign with an iron grip. Diplomacy and other methods are fruitless. Aizen's dominance over the cannon had restored order to Hueco Mundo, forcing the more powerful hollows to strive for higher Arrancar positions and lessening the bloodshed amongst them. Naruto attempted to create a comparable system with a stronger structure and harsher restrictions. If Yama can accomplish it, we can too. Hollows are more motivated by wants, although they dread strength more than those in the Soul Society. What you do for women? What do you mean, kingdom building is enjoyable? Minecraft is more fun. When you become a Vasto Lord, I will. Insert Minecraft eating sound effects. Nami gasped. Okay, partner. I will let you eat me out. Good, girl. Nelliel kept her gaze fixed on Nami throughout their conversation. She tried to argue against his reasoning, but she ended up agreeing. Hollows were not creatures of language, but of violence. Overwhelming might was necessary to quell the hungry nature of hollows and put them in their place. And he wielded tremendous power. Even the dark-skinned lady, though formidable, was beneath him. He is doing it for a worthy cause. She nodded solemnly in accord, reassuring herself of his intentions. Just one more question. She seemed uncomfortable to be pestering him with one inquiry after another. What are you? I understand you're hollow, but you're not a pure one. I don't know how to express it in words. Their look and nature were diametrically opposed to any other hollow she had seen in Hueco Mundo. She felt like an outsider among their humanoid shapes. His laughter boomed out, relieving the strain. Relax, I will explain. He went on to explain the notion of Arankars, increasing her comprehension of the hollow race as a whole. The appeal of an Arankar's strength and qualities sparked a new craving within her. She tried to ask about the transformation process, but he quickly rejected her, stating that she had not met the essential conditions. He was accurate in a way. The relationship required for his talent, crumbling heart, to work has yet to be formed. He did not want her to try Arankarification on her own and maybe fail. Her chivalrous demeanor would be a valuable asset to his future empire. A superb night. Nami, unimpressed, said, who will be eaten by the Devil King of the Samsara Palace during the night? At least she is intelligent, not a stupid bimbo like Mila Rose. Do not offend my golden retriever. Choosing to ignore Nami, Naruto spent more time explaining the coming risks to Apache and Sung Sun. The former had an insatiable desire for power, which may drive her on a deadly quest for lesser hollows for months. She had to be given a time limit or she would run into Aizen. After that, he went to mingle with the little, lovable hollows that lived in the cave. They gathered around him, as if he were the uncle who gave the kids chocolates and toys. Surprisingly, several hollows grew in size right before his eyes, gaining strength that propelled them from the bottom of the barrel class. Nelliel saw this, her eyes widening with surprise and bewilderment. Are you? Could you possibly be a god? It was unusual for her to lose her cool and stammer, but the hollow's rapid expansion, which had remained dormant for years, was a remarkable sight. He gave an uneasy laugh in response to her query. It's just my passive ability. Because of their large Riryoku stores, Ejukas had more subtle effects from his ability. However, for hollows with Riryoku even lower than the ordinary human, the effect was visible to the sight. It was like watching a miracle. An extended flexible pipe with the end resembling an elephant's trunk snaked across the floor. Kazuki Urahara was the one carrying the odd device. Sunifa. It detects residues of Garganta. Naruto-san left for Hueco Mundo. Yoruichi let out an audible cluck of his tongue. She lost out on the chance to intercept Naruto since she arrived too late. Her error was due to the Dongai's time-altering effects. Got any way to enter Hueco Mundo? Nothing right now, Kazuki answered, shaking his head in sadness. He hadn't gotten to his Discorer duplicate, which accessed Garganta like hollows. Curing Chiruchi was his first objective. What happened? Yoruichi had informed him about the upcoming Shinigami trials in 17 days. The most natural reason for Naruto's return to the living world is to spend time with his family. He was unable to determine why Yoruichi felt compelled to pursue Naruto in Hueco Mundo. He shook his head at her stillness. Did you have a fight with him? Yoruichi was intelligent, mature, and even kind, yet her quirky personality rescued him at the most critical time, but it also caused problems for others around her. She may be a pain in the ass without realizing it. Kind of, Yoruichi said with a sigh. I may or may not have rejected his request. Ouch. Are you always the uncaring one? What did he request? He wants to learn Kido from me. So what's wrong with that? It would benefit him as a Shinigami and gain him a better seat soon after graduation. Kazuki halted and punched his hand in recognition. You thought it was too much effort and wanted to delay it for another day. Be gone, demon, she yelled. I know I messed up. As the previous leader of Gotei 13's most adaptable unit, she gained a diverse range of expertise. A little inconvenience like this would not jeopardize her objective. It would have been easier if I hadn't been an exiled Shinigami. Her exile and criminal status bound her. Her statements had no weight in the eyes of the Central 46, therefore she lacked the authority to testify in Aizen's trial. Furthermore, she wasn't close enough to the other captains to influence their decisions. She had no option but to depend on Naruto. Yoruichi left the room with fresh purpose, only to return a few seconds later. Waiting for Naruto at his home was preferable than walking aimlessly around the streets. Kazuki laughed and left Yoruichi to wait alone. He had more constructive things to do, such as seeking a cure for Chiruchi Sanderwichi's Zanpakuto and working on his Garganta project. He has yet to make a breakthrough with either of his concerns. As the vivid colors of sunset faded into the velvet blackness of night, Yoruichi observed no indication of Naruto's return. Fortunately, patience was a virtue shared by all the long-lived spirits. When Naruto returned, he was startled to see Yoruichi asleep on Harribel's bed. She rustled into attention as she saw their coming. "Wife, I told you dogs are better at defending the mansion. You still went ahead and acquired a cat." "I'm sorry, husband," Sung-sun said, pretending to sob. "This cat was pleading with me to adopt it." "Ah. I know cats are adorable, but dogs are far cuter. They are also more dependable and less lazy. Cats snooze all day and night." Each statement was like a sharp dagger stabbed into Yoruichi's heart, especially the one regarding her lethargy. Despite this, she could see he had no ill will towards her. She hissed at him and flashed her lethal claws. "How could you say the dogs are superior? Cats are fluffier and utterly gorgeous." Naruto grinned at her sarcastic response. "Yoruichi, why did you break into my house? You departed without explanation. I believed you had permanently relocated to Hueco Mundo with everyone. I just wanted to spend some time with my family. Enough of that, let us return," she pushed, quickly shifting the subject. "I will teach you every Kido in my possession. Don't disappear without telling me the next time, okay?" A sudden departure from the Soul Society had caused her to be more careful in rejecting him. He could happily declare that everything went according to plan. Yoruichi was more than eager to educate him. He was anxious to acquire Shunpo and Shunko under her tutelage, since these talents would be essential in the future. Learn fire-based Kido spells. We will employ the demonic fires of the Black Phoenix bloodline to defeat our adversaries. His Chunni Zanpakuto spirit reminded him of the Phoenix's distinctive flames. Even though he was a Phoenix, he lacked flame-based powers, which was surprising. His exceptional Reishi control showed the possibility of evolving into his power of creation, whilst oppression might be considered his power of death. Will I get into my Shikai or Bankai? He hoped that his Shinigami Zanpakuto would have distinct abilities than his partial release Arankar Zanpakuto, an aspect of death. Possessing various kinds of offense was preferable than being a one-trick pony. They should be distinct. Remember that Hollows, and by extension, Arankar, get strength from their regrets and the circumstances of their deaths. Shinigami's Zanpakuto draws force from their identity. This is not about race or origin. Nami, I like it when you go full sensei mode. Anything for you, partner. Anything. I have a decent idea of my partner's Shikai and Bankai. They will be exceedingly odd, worthless, and strong all at once. I will not ruin it. I will locate it sooner or later. After finishing his talk with Nami, he looked at the time. I have 1 hour before meeting Kaien. What should I do? Apache grabbed his hand and forcefully squeezed it in her hands. See, come into my room. I have something to discuss. Her demeanor was serious, indicating that the topic was important. She could have persuaded anybody if it hadn't been for the slight color on her cheeks. She expected some vulgar behavior, and he was ready for it. Before he could respond, Sung-sun grasped his left hand, her smile beaming. Dear husband, I kindly request that you set aside an hour for me. Allow our bodies to engage in a harmonious exchange of passion and affection. Sung-sun shared the intention of engaging in a more intimate experience with him. However, it was improbable for him to meet the expectations of both within a single hour. Ultimately, as advanced Hollows, their endurance and desires were significantly heightened, particularly in the case of Apache. She exuded a captivating allure. Apache's shot Sung-sun cast a heated glare. Please step aside, snake. No, you. I will not withdraw my position. It is uncertain when he will make his return. Would you be open to exploring a threesome? Establish your authority by addressing both simultaneously? Disregarding Nami's insistent murmurs and the two engaged in a heated dispute over him, he directed his attention towards Harribel. Would you like to allocate some time to meet with me? Instead of exacerbating the situation, he opted for the third and most prudent choice, despite the likelihood that Harribel would decline his proposition for intimacy. She had scheduled the looting option for after his mission in the Soul Society, similar to Mila Rose. He was more than willing to accompany her, appreciating the comfort of her lap pillows. Harribel dismissed the notion with a shake of her head. Advancing, she placed her lips gently on his cheeks. Continue to return in this manner. I will return as much as possible, she acknowledged with a nod and left the room, prompting Sung Sun and Apache to share uncomfortable glances, both feeling a sense of embarrassment due to Harribel's composed demeanor. Harribel consistently maintained her composure, ensuring that selfishness did not prevail, despite her unmatched affection for him. This quality was the reason he found her particularly charming, and he could acknowledge that she was his preferred partner by a significant margin. Yoruichi emitted a quiet laugh and promptly leapt out of the window, ultimately positioning herself on the mansion's rooftop. The black feline settled into her resting place until the sounds of passionate moans interrupted her sleep. The cries were attributed to Apache and Sung Sun rather than vying for his attention. They opted to share him during their inaugural threesome. He is fortunate to have them. She exhaled deeply and hurried to another rooftop, seeking a place where the disturbances would not disrupt her rest. Toshiro and Momo observed a solitary house in the wilderness following several hours of travel. The residence provided an ideal eerie backdrop for the mystery that had brought them to this location. Despite having lived for nearly a century, this unexplored aspect of their district was completely unfamiliar to them. They had only ever observed the vibrant fireworks, emitting color and excitement, from their residence. They were unaware that it originated from the imposing chimney of this particular residence. Momo positioned her hands on her chest. This residence belongs to the individual known as the Fireworks Girl. The appearance is quite satisfactory. Her ears had been filled with accounts of Kukaku Shiba from her neighbors, all of them commending the beautiful woman's generous actions towards the district residents. However, Toshiro stood with a look of skepticism on his youthful face, contrasting with Momo's naivety. The fireworks served as a distraction for her intricate plans. In contrast to Momo, Toshiro had observed Kukaku departing the district on several occasions. His insight regarding the complexities of women with prominent features appeared to be remarkably accurate. Trust should not be easily granted based on physical attributes. Young Toshiro held the conviction that they were all malevolent. Momo, we are departing now. Momo propelled the lightweight boy forward with a firm slap on his back. It is merely a residence belonging to a neighbor. We should take a moment to greet her before we depart, Shiro-chan. Please refrain from calling me Shiro-chan. It is quite unprofessional, Toshiro remarked. I will not be remaining here. He was often likened to ice. It may have been his silver hair, illuminated by the moonlight, his striking blue-green eyes, or his aloof demeanor that instilled discomfort in others, yet he continued to be an unpopular presence in relation to his neighbor. This reality was challenging to accept at first, but over the years, he had come to terms with the situation. Momo, in contrast, was quite the socialite. In contrast to him, she possessed the ability to engage in conversation with anyone and elicit smiles through her charming demeanor. In contrast to him, individuals sought her out for her brilliance. In contrast to him, she received widespread praise from others. He was not allowing his icy demeanor to extinguish the vibrant social life of Momo. He consistently chose to excuse himself whenever Momo encountered acquaintances or friends. Today was anticipated to unfold as usual, until a voice resonated from behind him, disrupting his expectations. It appears that Kukaku has received visitors. If Momo's voice was a spark of joy that could melt ice, then the voice behind him was as radiant and welcoming as the morning sun, a melodious tune that brightened people's day in an instant. Toshiro swallowed hard and turned to observe a man with long, unkempt silver hair. Despite his small stature, Toshiro maintained an unwavering optimism, consistently believing that he would eventually reach Momo's height. However, reaching the man's height appeared to be as distant a goal as his ability to form 10 friendships. It was unfeasible. Could you please identify yourself? Momo appeared immobilized, as motionless as a tree in winter. Her engagements with men were confined to her close-knit social circle. None of her friends possessed the same captivating appeal as the distinguished man in front of her. Feeling overwhelmed, her cheeks turned a deep crimson, and her words failed to form on her tongue. The elegant black cat beside the unfamiliar figure perked up her ears, her eyes shimmering with curiosity. These children exhibit considerable potential. What? A cat that can converse? A sudden jolt interrupted Momo's daydream. While animals were a frequent presence in the Soul Society, felines were notably uncommon. A conversational one appeared as though it had emerged directly from the enchanting tales narrated by their grandmother. Are you a Shinigami? A calculated smile, broad and cunning, emerged on the stranger's face, reminiscent of an antagonist who had just revealed the last element of his intricate strategy. Certainly not. Toshiro appeared at ease, while Momo drifted into another daydream. What is all this commotion? Kukaku's discontent resonated from within as she opened the door. Who are these individuals? It appears they possess a commendable level of Ryotsu. This particularly silver-haired individual. Kukaku, despite her role as a fireworks maker, was a noble descendant with inherent Ryotsu that matched that of a vice-captain. Her choice to abstain from joining the Gotei 13 appeared to be a missed opportunity, considering her remarkable skill in Kido. She had the potential to attain a prestigious role as a high-ranking seated officer. Achieving the position of vice-captain would be within reach if she dedicated herself to awakening her Zanpakuto. Certain individuals of exceptional intellect often fail to realize their full capabilities, a poignant aspect of existence. Toshiro did not fully understand the concept of Ryotsu, yet he recognized that the woman was identifying him as unique. It triggered a realization in him that he was likely to be exploited for the questionable intentions of the adult woman. He desired none of it. The stranger offered a charming and approachable smile. I am Naruto. Would you be so kind as to introduce yourself? Momo promptly pressed her arms against her sides and performed a swift bow. I am Momo Hinamori. Toshiro, he responded, his words delivered more out of obligation than genuine desire. Toshiro Hitsugaya. Those are quite lovely names, Naruto remarked with a measured nod. Momo, Toshiro. Your potential is clearly evident to us all. Would you both consider the opportunity to join the Shinigami Academy alongside me? In his perspective, including them would be beneficial. He had the potential to alter Momo's destiny, preventing her from becoming Aizen's pawn, while also securing Toshiro's allegiance. Despite Toshiro's height, his potential exceeded that of a typical captain. Momo Hinamori, while not as exceptionally talented as her friend, possessed the ability to attain a vice-captain position independently. Their involvement in Naruto's faction would undoubtedly enhance his standing within Gotei 13. Momo lifted her head, her eyes gleaming with enthusiasm. Are we able to become Shinigami? Her curiosity had consistently been aroused regarding life within the Seirei, the exciting endeavors a Shinigami undertook, establishing unbreakable bonds through various battles, a significant contrast to her routine existence in the Rukongai. You can, Naruto affirmed with an assured nod. Please take your time. It is advisable to take your time before making a decision. His compelling voice caused Momo to blush once more. Understood. His request was largely procedural, as she had already decided to enroll in the Shinigami Academy. She took hold of Toshiro's hand and guided him a short distance away. She turned back to acknowledge Naruto with a wave. We will inform you of our decision at a later time. With that, she swiftly made her way back to her residence in the distance. That unfortunate individual, Naruto remarked quietly. Kukaku, I am quite hungry. Do you have something for me? Kukaku's brow furrowed at his audacious request, which had become a frequent jest in recent times. She attempted numerous times to strike him, yet he consistently eluded her, slipping away with remarkable agility. She ultimately had to concede, acknowledging that Yoruichi's selected candidate truly possessed the capability to rise to the rank of captain. Have Kaien and Miyako departed? Naruto acknowledged with a nod. The married couple had left them at the western gate prior to proceeding with their responsibilities in the Seirei. Kukaku huffed and confidently walked back into the house. Kurahanohiko produced additional items. Please consume it, or I will have to dispose of it. Resilient in appearance yet gentle at heart, Yoruichi remarked as she gazed up at him. Is she not? Indeed. I would like to inquire about something, Naruto. Will you also pursue that young woman? He blinked in astonishment. Although he appreciated Momo's charm, her naivety did not align with his preferences. I am particularly drawn to mature women such as yourself. A distinguished member of the Mature Lover Society. I appreciate your determination. Persevere, and it is possible that I may develop feelings for you over the course of a millennium. She confidently announced her arrival and entered the house. He felt a strong desire to reach for her dancing tail, yet he refrained from acting on his impulses. She became quite agitated the last time he made contact with her tail. Momo and Toshiro arrived at their residence, where they were welcomed at the entrance by an elderly woman, who was hunched over. The young duo found her fatigued appearance to be a continual cause for concern. Shiro, Momo, may I inquire about your whereabouts? Grandma, I have some exciting news to share. Momo enthusiastically shared her experience with Naruto, Kukaku Shiba, and the talking cat. Nozomi, Toshiro's grandmother, would have found it hard to believe had Toshiro not been there to corroborate Momo's account. Grandma, guess what? I'm going to become a Shinigami. Nozomi flashed a bright smile. That's great. How about you, Shiro? Are you going to go with Momo? Toshiro crossed his arms, clearly not buying it. Nope. What's the deal with those Shinigami, anyway? Someone had to stick around to take care of his grandmother, who was gradually losing more weight as time went on. His grandmother had been showering him with love and care for more than 100 years. He just couldn't leave her behind, even though the idea of joining Momo and starting fresh in the Seraiti was really appealing. Let's go. Momo gave it her best shot to convince him, but he just wouldn't change his mind. On a hill that looked out over a vast sea of trees, two people stood. Soaking in the soft glow of the rising sun, a young woman stood there, her messy black hair swaying gently in the morning breeze. She wore a light purple kimono that flowed around her. Beside her stood a young man with red hair, dressed in a sleeveless tunic that was clearly showing the dirt and grime from his daily battles in District 78 of the Soul Society. It was a tough time that whittled their group of 5 down to just the 2 of them. Rukia's hands balled up into fists. Renji, guess what? I'm planning to become a Shinigami. Their friends, always getting into trouble, had been caught by the Shinigami, and now who knows what's going to happen to them. She and Renji had no trouble outrunning the Shinigami, thanks to their stronger bodies from their high Ryotsu. Renji put a hand on her shoulder. Same here. Life in the Seraiti has to be way better. Here's to hoping our friends are finding some joy over there. Rukia shook her head, a hint of a sad smile playing on her lips as she looked at Renji's naivety. Their friends were taken away like animals, not welcomed like nobles. She found it tough to picture her friends having any kind of decent life in the Seraiti. He was in denial. We should probably head out now, Renji suggested. The exams are in about 15 days or so. The effects of the harsh but essential sacrifices for soul balancing were felt by many, extending beyond just Rukia and Renji. It's on the 2nd floor of the 5th Squad's barracks. A man with black hair held a brush, his strokes on the canvas sharp and elegant, almost like a sword. The black framed glasses and white coat over his Shinigami uniform created a soft vibe. Aizen Sosuke, the captain of the 5th Squad, thought that calligraphy took just as much, if not more, precision than swordsmanship. He had perfectly mastered both arts along with a bunch of others too. His calligraphy skills were so impressive that he got the honor of being a special lecturer at the Shinigami Academy. His charm and expertise really drew in the students, making him one of the most popular lecturers, even though the calligraphy course was optional. Aizen was lost in the steady flow of his brushwork when suddenly, the door behind him creaked open. In walked a guy with silver white hair and a grin that sent a chill down his spine. With his eyes always closed, he just seemed creepier, kind of like a snake ready to strike at any moment. Jin Ichimaru, the vice captain of the 5th Squad, shut the door behind him. As he settled down next to Aizen, he kept that unsettling smile on his face. Captain Aizen, you're going to want to hear this amazing news. Do you think it might have something to do with that place? Absolutely, Captain. You were right, Jin said. A wandering hero brought the Emperor's reign to a close. That place has lost its ruler. Aizen thought that out of all the possible reasons for the disruption, the death of a few Vasto Lord was probably the most likely one. A moment of silence filled the air as Aizen's brush stopped moving. He laid it down and turned to face Jin. So, has that person taken over the throne yet? You know, that's the most surprising part, Captain Aizen. That person just disappeared right after it happened. That place is now caught up in a chaotic civil war, with everyone battling it out for a shot at being the next god. Aizen adjusted his glasses, a cold smile creeping onto his face. You mean a fake god? Jin. Can you tell me who that hero is? I'm curious about how powerful they can become with our influence. I'll give it a shot, Captain Aizen. So, what's the deal with our plan to take over that place? Let the waves settle down with a new leader. It was easier to take out the new ruler than to deal with the mess going on in Las Noches. At the same time, the door gently swung open to the office of the 10th Squad. A figure in a typical Shinigami outfit quietly slipped through the door. He spotted a blonde woman lounging on the sofa, taking up most of the space in the room. Her curvy figure was beautifully highlighted by her relaxed stance, and the pink scarf around her neck acted like a beacon, effortlessly drawing the eye to the soft curves of her cleavage. The quiet presence didn't disturb her dreams at all. Her chest moved gently up and down, keeping time with her peaceful sleep. A sly smirk spread across the intruder's face, with a hint of mischief dancing in his dark eyes. Instead of stepping back and letting the sleeping beauty be, he decided to get back at her for all the constant nagging. He quietly tiptoed across the room and grabbed a black pen from the table. He leaned in closer to the sleeping woman, his pen moving ever so slowly toward her face. And that's how it all went down. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? Rangaku Matsumoto shot up, rubbing her eyes and trying to shake off the remnants of a dream. I keep having this dream about my childhood friend who seems to have lost their kindness over time. She noticed a guy with spiky black hair absorbed in jotting something down on a scroll. Feeling a bit out of it, she squinted her eyes and gave her cheeks a little pinch, wondering if what she was seeing was really happening. Wait, is this really happening? Isshin Shiba, her captain, let out a sigh. Rangaku, can you keep it down a bit? I'm jotting down the reports for the 969 purifications I did in Nagasaki. It's just shocking how many suicides are happening there. Rangaku's expression shifted to a serious one when Nagasaki came up, a city still dealing with the fallout from a nuclear disaster that happened 5 years ago. The hollows that popped up there were definitely tougher than what you'd find in other areas. Normally, those kinds of conditions wouldn't call for a captain to step in, but Isshin was determined to take on the mission by himself. Even with his crude jokes and laid-back attitude, Isshin really cared about his team and wouldn't let his rookie-seated officers face those terrifying hollows alone. He really came through when it mattered. Trying not to laugh, Isshin cleared his throat. Did anything happen while I was gone? Rangaku was scratching her neck, kind of lost in thought, when she said, Oh, by the way, Kukaku dropped by a few days ago. What? Why did she? I mean, what do I really know about your quirky niece? You're in charge of the Shiba clan. It's actually head of a branch, Isshin said, making a small correction. I'd better go check on her. Rangaku, my lovely vice captain, could you wrap up these reports for me? Rangaku's face twitched as she lifted her clenched fist. Stop looking for excuses to take it easy. She paused, sensing a friend coming toward her room. Izan? When Izan walked in with a tray, Isshin took that chance to make a quick getaway using Shunpo. Slacker. Get back here. Rangaku just waved her fists in frustration as Isshin took off, leaving her with all his work. Izan didn't even flinch, looking completely unbothered by all the drama. Just another day in the 10th Squad. But when she caught sight of Rangaku's face, she couldn't help but let out a little laugh. Rangaku. What's going on with your face? Rangaku pulled out a hand mirror to check out her reflection. The laid-back captain had sketched some playful doodles around her eyes, her nose, and even added a rather awkward drawing of a pair of breasts on each cheek. She wiped her face, feeling the chill on her skin. Izan, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry. I really need to get back at that guy for this. She just couldn't let him off the hook for that prank. What's really interesting is that she discovered a way to take it easy while her captain wasn't around. She just couldn't bring herself to finish Ishin's reports, no matter how much it felt like her life was on the line. Izan waved it off casually, saying, "No worries," as Rangaku made her dramatic exit. Izan let out a sigh, looking down at the tray she was holding. "I guess I'll go see Vice Captain Yachiru. She's always on the lookout for a snack." Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.